Welcome to selfdiscoverymedia.com, where we discover the communities that are making a difference in the lives of others. Our self-discovery is something we are all making on our life's journey. Here you will find the people that will be your guidance, that will be your inspiration, that will be there for you in support on your journey of life. Do enjoy. Our next show is... Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Building Your Business right here on selfdiscoverymedia.com. I'm your host, Sarah Troy. Wonderful repeat guest here, Deborah Drummond, and her partner, Caroline Blanchard. We're going to be talking about a very serious subject here today. It's all about how to use media to explode your business. And boy, do we need help in that area. Both of them have coming from a long line of expertise on this. I've just done a wonderful show with Deborah, which I invite you to listen to as well, which is all about the anti-aging, the attitude, the inside out, the outside in, and everything that you can do to slow that clock down. And Caroline is a single mom of 3. She's a best-selling author, podcast show co-host, along with Deborah, a serial entrepreneur who focuses on women's empowerment, media, network marketing, recovery, coaching people to optimize their life and their business. So I hope that you've got yourself in gear, folks, because this is going to be Gear 5 show. Take notes. It's a lot of information coming your way, but it's all about helping you succeed in your own business. Welcome to the show, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Now, you have this podcast where you do talk a great deal about kind of business and the media, and a lot of people start off businesses and they have a great idea. They maybe even have a great product. I see this an awful lot with authors, and it's like, but I don't know what to do. Because marketing today is social media, isn't it? That's how we do it. It's not the old traditional way. They just get stuck, or they get inundated, or they get overloaded, and they don't know how to track themselves. We're going to be talking about the books that you have written and that are coming out as well. And this is all about pouring it out. So, Deborah, I'm going to go with you first. Put us on track, girl.
Oh, put us on track. There's a big one. Well, to address, you're absolutely right, Sarah. There has been a plethora of entrepreneurs that have just rose to the top in this last year and a half too. It has been a continual climb of social marketing, social selling. And I think, we talked about this earlier in the other podcast a little bit about, the generation that we came from. Mm-hmm. First, what I want to say to people is that don't be afraid of media. Look, mm-hmm. I built my business belly to belly. I've been doing this for 30 years, and I built myself a substantial, successful business talking to people. And one of the things that made me successful in social media was keeping that same methodology. Mm-hmm. Who I am offline is who I'm going to bring online. And I think the problem when people start to go onto social media is that they think they have to be something else or know something else. The first thing for the last year and a half, I was just watching videos and learning and testing. And yeah, it took some late hours. And if you're an entrepreneur that comes from one thing and you have to learn another, guess what? Mm-hmm. That's where that word pivot is. I don't even like pivot. Pivot is actually a 4-letter word for me. It's not 5.
Redirect.
So, redirect, yes. Reframe. Right. So be prepared to be uncomfortable. If you're an entrepreneur, that's not an unusual feeling. If you are just becoming an entrepreneur, well, frustration comes in your box. You know what I mean? That's part of the deal. You actually get paid for that. You get paid for that frustration. I just want to tell people that when we talk about exploding your business with media, that there's, and Caroline will talk about this. We created a media platform specifically for people that are coming into business. And we actually take you through the process. That's what I think makes it so beautiful. Don't think of what you're doing as too big or too engulfing. Find something or someone that you can start with. Don't worry about being on all of the channels at once. Nail one down and then take that success on to the next one. So for me, I've come from here. I've had to go there, and you got to give yourself some slack in between.
You said the magic word to me. I actually said it even before the show. Before people can buy anything from you, they're buying you. Where's your authenticity? Are you real? Do I feel comfortable with you? Do I want to do business with you? Nobody wants to think that they're talking to two different faces. They want to know they really are talking to the person that really cares. Caroline, this is actually a key, isn't it, in the social media brand, of making sure the consistency all the way through the threads, through your business, through your website, through your social media, that really you're keeping it real.
Absolutely. And I think that Deb really mentioned a key point in succeeding is that you are the same person online as you are offline. So whatever you're putting online, when you cross your neighbor in the street, you shouldn't be embarrassed. You should be like, yeah, this is me, they know me. And I think that a lot of people, when they start social media, they think that it's almost like a marketing publicity that they're doing. So they need to, you know, upgrade and everything. But really your personal branding is key. And there's a big thing that I've been learning, even though I do have my bachelor in marketing, there's something really new. They used to talk about it a bit differently, but now they talk about the avatar. And I think that the best way, because if you're trying to talk to everyone, you talk to no one.
Right.
Because, you know, there's nothing that is specific enough, so people don't identify. And I'm still struggling a little with it because life evolves every single day and we like different things every single day. So we're like, oh, am I on the right track? Because I wasn't targeting, let's say, book clubs before, but now I'm doing some. So I absolutely love book clubs. So you have to be, like Deb said, really gentle with yourself. Find who you are as an avatar. And you know what, as simple as it sounds, it's actually hard to put it on paper. Because like me, when I put myself on paper, having different businesses and everything, I had like 40 key points, in which you can't have 40 key points. No. You know, you
Saturation.
need to have 5 good key points, but it's hard to really pinpoint it. So one of the first steps is really to develop who you are as a person that will become your brand. And there's millions of people that will identify with your brand, but it's really losing the mentality of I want to please everyone and I want everyone to read the information, because that's really when you get lost.
Yeah. You know, there's a certain amount of vulnerability you've got to have and not be afraid of it. A lot, oh no, I can't show that. No, nobody will buy me in business if they see that. And quite honestly, we want to know, again, you're real, that you're going through the same struggles as we are. Relatability. And I see if you're targeting, when I do social media, which I take at least an hour every day to do, I see a comment coming up. And I believe interactiveness, participation is key. And I see a topic coming up, I've got a show for that. And so I'll put a show in that. Maybe this show will help you. You know, we covered this in that show, and it's giving them resource. It's up to them whether they take it or not, but it's showing, I hear you, I listen, and this is something I'm offering to you. So we have to be willing to be vulnerable and interactive, don't we, Deborah?
We do. And I think, you know, if someone's just venturing new, if someone's listening to this and they're seasoned, they know exactly what you mean. I always say, you know, do everything with grace.
Yes.
You know, like Caroline said, if this is what you are offline, bring that persona online. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't get better. It doesn't mean that you can't up your vocabulary. It doesn't mean that you can't make sure your background's correct. It can't mean, so when you want to deliver information to somebody, you want to make sure that you're engaged. Are they going to pay attention more to you if you are in the, let's say, reupholstering business, and you're standing here with something that's been reupholstered compared to your kitchen? Yes. So yes, there's different things, and you can be coached to have your message come through.
Your settings.
Yes, your settings. And then again, like Caroline says, knowing who you're talking to, using the verbiage that's appealing to them. All of those things come with tweaking, but first they come with, you know, excuse my language, they come with sucking.
Yes.
My first Facebook Live was brutal, right? And here's what you do. You're like, this is my first Facebook Live. See that for a while. So people like have grace, but you know what they see? They may not see your product. They may not see your book, but they'll see your bravery, right? Yeah. They'll see your bravery, and then they'll laugh at yourself and you'll become more comfortable on camera. But I think what people think is they have to have this they're on camera, they've got to be like a celebrity.
Yeah.
Now, make sure you're somewhere in the middle, okay? Like, make sure you're in the somewhere in the middle. There's some things that you probably don't want to show, and honestly, probably shouldn't.
Right. Right.
Right? Let's get real. Probably, I'm not sure, you know, but then you don't have to be way over on this side either. Right. So
it's wearing different hats, isn't it? You're the same person. You've just got a different hat on. Like if you're coaching, you're going to be one-on-one with someone, you're going to have a different hat for that. If you're talking to the public, you've got a different hat for that. It's always being your authentic self, but the hat that you're putting on is actually kind of the channel that you want people to receive you in. Caroline?
Yep. Yes, absolutely. And one big thing that I've learned is that, you know, in conversations, usually when we talk like normal, if you meet someone on the street, you will ask them how they're doing. And most likely you will ask questions about them, and you will, you know, you won't stand there and be like, hey, how are you? So let me tell you about my day, how it went. And one big thing is to act the same way as we speak on social media. So to write little about us and a lot about what it actually can bring, or, you know, what it means for others. And when I heard that, I was just like, that's kind of funny, but it's so true.
Yeah.
Because when we go online, we pour our heart out and we start writing and writing. And quite often we write too much about ourselves, and we don't ask people or have them relate to what we're saying. So absolutely. And yes, wearing authentic hats is also crucial. And it's funny because I'm going to switch gear here, but that's a little bit how Deborah and I actually started our media company, because, you know, we've been in business for a long time, both of us, like since we were 2. So we knew about it, but our business didn't start as, oh, we're starting a business. It started as us being us, even doing business presentations, and then people being like, oh my gosh, you guys are so funny. And at first we were like, well, it's a business presentation, not sure how funny it's supposed to be, but, you know, and they're like, no, the chemistry. So that brought us to, hey, why don't we just do one podcast, you know, for fun? And then it developed. And as we started developing that, we started hearing the need from people, because people do interact a lot with us. It's like, oh, I like that podcast. I liked when you spoke about this. And I love when you know, that subject. So we started listening. And basically the only thing we have done is develop tools to answer what people are telling us. And I think that is why our tools and our products are so well liked. It's because it's very simple tools that were, how can I say that, asked by people. I'll let Deb take it from here.
Well, you're being solution-based, right?
Yes, absolutely.
You know, yeah, you're hearing what the problems are and being solution-based. And as far as that writing, go write a blog and share the blog on social media. Doesn't anyone else feel like this? Be invitational, right? Don't, you know, please do write your story if you're compelled to do it, but it's where you place it that's important. But, you know, talking about, everybody is looking for an answer. And so there's a hell of a lot of questions out there. Some people don't even know how to ask the question, but they'll hear an answer. God, you know what? That's been in my mind and I just didn't know how to articulate it. So we're all looking for a solution. So the fact that you're listening to the problems out there, then bringing about those solutions, you're giving people skills and tools.
Yeah, but I want to say as well, you know, you talked about vulnerability, and I'm a big fan of Brene Brown, and I think she's the one that really started to, you know, allowing me to, oh, it's okay to say you're not perfect.
Yes.
But one of our big thing with Deborah and I is that we are vulnerable, and I guess it's because we banter a lot with each other. So if I bug her, sometimes maybe it's not something she would have said, but I'm pointing it out, so she has to answer. But we realize that that's actually what people love, and that's when they actually contact us and be like, oh my gosh, you know, I didn't know that you were living that too, and I want this as well. So vulnerability is key.
I think it's a huge gift, not only to yourself but to other people. Most definitely. You know, the other thing about you're setting your stage or doing a podcast. So many people do. I've been doing it 9.5 years now, but so many people during the pandemic, did a podcast. And as you said, in the kitchen with the dirty dishes behind, with this or that. And the thing is, people eat with their eyes first. Now, I have a huge audio platform as well as a video one. So however anybody wants to listen, it's their choice. But if you are going to do video, do set the stage, right? But also, I'm sure as you've done guest speaking, things go wrong. The mic cuts out, or this happens, or, and it's don't panic, own it. Like when something goes wrong, it's like, oh, we're having a whoopsie, oh, we've dropped. I hope we get them back, and the thing is, make light of it, because if we don't make light of the mistakes, then we're telling people they've got to be perfect, and nobody is perfect. And I think this last year and a half, seeing all the talk shows go to Zoom and be in people's homes, and everybody being more relaxed and the hair being more fluffy and less perfect, we related so much more to them because they felt more real to us, right?
Absolutely. I think that, when we hear the word media, it's a new word for a lot of people. This was something that if you were more of a traditional business person, this was something out of your budget.
Yeah.
Like think about the evolution of, look at what we're doing here right now. To have been on someone's TV station, to be on someone's radio station. And I know back, I'm going to say 15 years ago, I had a radio station and people looked at me like, you have a radio show? And I'm like, yeah. And even when I got asked to be on the radio show, I was like, I couldn't possibly, I don't know how I could pay for something like that.
Right.
Until I understood. They're like, you got a mic? You got a phone? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it was very different. It was very different in terms of what people think of media. So they think of it as expensive. They think of it as outside their comfort zone, outside their financial budget. And I'm that go-between. I'm the go-between the B2B and the social media, and blending them together and still working with whatever works for you, allowing that exposure to be, but recognizing that this is a critical element to your business that you need to bring in. So the skills are important to learn, and it can platform anything that you've done. But that I just want to make that point that this is critical. I was talking to a fellow this morning, and I called Caroline. I'm like, we got to get this guy's interview in because he's building a website. And media is such a powerful third-party tool. Yeah. So instead of him having his face on his website going, hi, this is what I do, and I, drones, and he's got this incredible story of how he went from military in Rwanda to actually creating a drone company. His story is super powerful. He's like, it would be so much more powerful if someone was interviewing me, because now that's the third-party testimonial I'll ever need. And so you want to have a powerful message, have someone else endorse you live. Yeah. And you are at home. Right. Right. Yeah. So I think it's not what TV and radio used to be. No. It's so accessible. That was my point. Long-winded, but there it is.
No, but that's the point now, is that everybody, as I said, has a podcast now without realizing there is some due diligence behind it, some setting behind it. And, Caroline, you made a point about start off small. Maybe one social media, build up your platform. When you go over to the other social media, they'll follow you. You'll invite them and they'll see, oh, got a good following there. I can see she's interactive. She pays attention to what I'm posting, or he, and that builds. And it's the same with a podcast. How many, I host podcasters, so many of them, I do all the work, literally. They just send me the file and the content, and I put everything together, and they still say, oh my God, it's so much work. And it is. So where's your commitment? If you're going to do something, research it first. And you may try it and go, it's not for me, but how many people jump into something and then backpedal because they realize it's more than they can take on? Caroline?
I do believe too that when we say media, and that's like if we go back in our 20s, media was the impression that you would put it in a flyer or in the newspaper. It would be one big boom, and then you would get a boom of business. that's what we think. Social media is different. And the media we're talking about, we're not talking necessarily, Facebook ads and everything. That's one part that you actually need to start investing more money. But there's so much you can do yourself without investing all of these publicity campaign. But we still have this mentality of publicity campaign, like it has to be seen at large. But I find that when you grow something organically, and there's a place for both, by the way. But when you grow things organically, if you're an entrepreneur, it can also build more solid, because you're not only building numbers, you're also building quality, because people really start seeing you as, oh, I'm buying from Carolyn, and oh, I'm being coached by Carolyn, and I know her, and they know a bit of my life because they follow whatever I post on social media, what I'm okay to share with the world. But my point is, media, when we think about that, I know that at first when, Deb was like, we'll call that a media company. And I was just like, really? We're not that big, because I was seeing a television station or, owning a newspaper, like the bigger companies of like when we were younger. But it's not really that. It's really, a vehicle that will help you develop your business and will help you reach out more people. And then there's also networks, because when you start associating with the right people that are looking for the same thing as you and that are similar to you, your network grows exponentially. And that is like the queen of that. Like, she sends messages, and then she has this one person that refers us, like 10 other people that refers us. But it's really like using your network to branch out like spiders. And that you can do that when your brand at the center is developed well, and when you choose the right tool as well. Even like going on a podcast, it's really cool. But yes, do your homework. Go on a podcast that is worth it. The first one, maybe go on any podcast.
Exactly.
But then the ones that you will announce, research them a bit more. Make sure it's in line with what you want to, what your goal is. Same as if you participate in a book, well, make sure it's in line with your goals. So, yeah.
Quick note, this is self-discovery media, and I changed it from radio a few years ago because I thought, well, radio is limiting people where people think it's the dial radio. And when I first started out, people didn't know much about podcasts. That's why I kept to radio. And then when I went to media, I thought it's more encompassing of all the areas, because I'm into the book development and of course the podcast and then the video kind of TV thing. So it's an umbrella that allows you to grow, because media is going to grow, and it's a way we reach out to people. We look at TV and we go, oh, switch off the media, switch off the news and things like that. Well, that kind of, you can switch off. When you're listening to the podcast and truly, or coming to one of your events, you're really unraveling the beautiful layers of things. You're getting more content instead of, sensationalism. And I think right now we're so saturated with the sensationalism, we're begging for content. We're begging for something that I really relate to, that I really can use, that I really connect to, because people are tired of all that other media. So they've switched off their TVs and they're going online to find it.
And again, it's because you know what, you don't want to talk to everyone. So I know when we were thinking about podcasts, there's also like, well, we have to stay in a certain time limit because we don't want to bore people and blah, blah. And of course we can't stay in a time limit. We're not good with that. We start chatting and it's just
if it's good content, it's good content.
But then people are like, oh my gosh, we love it. So when you have the right people, you don't want to talk to everyone.
Right.
You want to talk to the right people.
The right vibe, yeah. Deborah, we talked about this before we did our show. We had a conversation, and it was talking about the people that are truly making a difference in the lives of others and the impact that they're having. And the people that we're drawn to are those with a story, and almost an unbelievable story, a story of hardship, story of struggle, because we see where they are now and the service and the meaningful purpose that they're in now. And we're so, my goodness, if they can do that after going through that, it's an invitation to be, could I step up? Is this possible within me? So we really do love a story that kind of is the fishing hook up to, come on, you can do it. You can do it. Hey, Deborah.
I love that. It was one of the things that I actually related to you the most, because you, I'm sure, just like us, we get invited onto other podcasts, and many of them, they go, okay, so we're 20 minutes. And part of me goes, is it a podcast or an ad?
Right.
Is it a podcast or an ad? And I'm not insulting anyone that has 20 minutes out there, but an ad, I mean, the ad tells you what it is, but you don't get to unravel it, open it, try it, see if it works, what have you. And so, I mean, you get to touch the surface, which is great. A lot of times you can just touch the surface, but here's how I feel. If someone they say, oh, our brain shuts off in 3 minutes, or we can only take in 10 or 15 minutes. Well, if that was true, nobody would finish watching one movie at the theater. They would have walked out in 20 minutes. Yes. So you're full of BS.
Yes.
The movie's good. If the story's great, I'll listen to it. And I won't just listen to it once. I'll listen to it over and over and over again. And so when you get to the truth of the matter, which I got to throw cahoots to Caroline, because she was like, true that. I'm like, so good. When you dig underneath like you do, when you were talking about it, when you dig underneath, now you're giving somebody some real guts and glory and information. If they're not interested in the topic, they're going to leave in 3 minutes or 10 minutes. It's not going to matter. It doesn't relate to them. So it's not their conversation that day, right? But if it was really true that people would only listen to you for 20 minutes, people would be not paying $20 to go see a movie because they would leave. So they would just watch trailers all day long. They'd watch trailers and they'd feel satisfied. So I'm 100% with you. And I suggest to anyone who wants to start a podcast. So when you told me you did 17 podcasts or something, I'm like, you need to there needs to be an award for you, because we know what the work is behind it. They say that over 90% of podcasts don't make it past their 100th episode. And I think that's because people think, as we've run on to this world of social media, that everybody has to have everything. So you don't. I suggest, now, me and Caroline did it backwards, but that's okay. Lots of entrepreneurs do.
Reverse engineering.
We fell in that category. But we also had decades of business experience behind us. Yes. So if you're looking at doing a podcast show, please go on to 10, 15, 20, and ask people what it's like, and then decide if that's a part of your business you're dedicated to making the time to do. And if you don't want to take all of the time, you can hire part of it out, but it's still a piece that needs marketing.
I agree with you, because an awful lot of people are using it in their business now. They get interviewed and they post it up there, because then you've got that, talking the third party story, somebody else interviewing them, asking the stories that they wouldn't normally tell. But, in doing that podcast, they're kind of expanding their brand of who they are and what they're doing. All of my podcasts can take 4 to 5 hours of production. And, and I'm wearing all the hats. Nobody farms it out. But that's because I'm a true colors coach. So I want all of the personality traits to receive the information in the way they can. So I lay out the whole platform so, it can bring them in. But that's just my dedication. But I can tell you what I've got out of it in the 9.5 years and over 2,000 shows, that you look at humanity on the TV and you think, just delete. And then you interview someone who is utterly awesome, despite what they've gone through, who they have become today, and the service that they've stepped into. It is illuminating. And you immediately want to know, what business are you in? Remember Harry met Sally? I want what she's having.
Yeah.
It becomes a bit of that. Like, I feel so connected to this person. I feel so real to this person. And I can see in business now, doing a podcast, even now and again, one a month or something, how it kind of digs deeper into the root of who you are. But please know what you're doing. There is an etiquette to it. There is as you do one, there's a style to it, and know why you're doing it. It's always, what's your why?
Yeah. Which was such a great thing when me and Caroline decided to go. I'm going to let her talk, but our why around our heart around entrepreneurs.
Why?
No, I was just going to say, for me, like, how I would summarize what you all said is really what I truly believe in my heart, is that you need to do something you really believe in. Because if you only do a balance sheet and say, okay, it's going to cost me this, I'm going to put 1,000 hours, I'm going to get $500, so I'm like at 5 penny an hour, you know, you're going to be like, oh no, I'm not doing that. But that's true for a podcast, and it's true for so many businesses. You know, so many businesses. And talk about it, you produce books, Deb and I produce books and tools. Well, I promise you that there's no ROI in the first, you know, little while, and maybe there won't be, but when we produce these things, it's because we truly believe in it. And that's where I'll let Deb step in. But whatever you do, your heart has to be in it, not the optic of like, how much profit am I going to do? Because you know,
the profit will come from the commitment and the purpose, right? You know, people will invest in you when you give them something really to invest in. If it's only about the money, or when people say, how many followers? Oh no, you haven't got enough, I'm not interested. You know, they're not your kind of clientele, because if they're that shallow, they're not ready for this content. Right? So, you know, again, know your audience, know your clientele. Don't try and fit into everybody's box. Know what box it is. And really, you're appealing to the hearts of people, aren't you?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But go ahead, Deb, and say why we decided to start all of that without knowing we were starting all of that.
Well, Sarah will get this 1,000%. And because it's Sarah, probably so will her audience. But it literally kind of came as a, honestly, I was at a trade show doing my business. I have more than one, and I don't have 1,000 of them, but you know, I have more than one.
They're all interconnected. They're a whole, yes.
Yeah, they're a whole thing. Health, wealth, and wellness. Yeah. Anyways, I was at a trade event for my business in the health and wellness sector. And it was one of those trade shows that you go, not quite sure what I was here. I did get to speak on stage. I was like, okay, I got to practice my speaking skills, but we didn't have a great show. But there's always silver linings to everything. And I took one card from somebody who had a publication. Long story short, I had a book that's been sitting on my desk, like many of you listening. I had a book sitting on my desk for over 20 years. And it was in health and wellness. And I thought, okay, I called these people. I called a bunch of people in publishing to start getting quotes around getting this book done. And this woman I had talked to, I had made a decision not to go with for whatever reason. I was like, I just didn't feel it, you know, didn't love the love. And one day she called me, and because our time zones are so different, she called me and she's like, I have this great idea, you know. And are we talking about the book right now? We're talking about the book, or are we talking about the podcast?
Okay, the
podcast was Epiphany, and you know, we rolled into it because, you know, we're super funny on business presentations. But long story short, I would never have hired her. She just caught me off guard. I picked up my phone and I was like, she talked about putting a book together from an anthology standpoint. I had been asked to be parts of anthologies before. I had talked to Caroline before, and I'm like, she's like, it's just not feeling right. And the topics weren't right. And it didn't feel juicy, you know? So this caught me off guard, and I got that woo in your body. And so I called Caroline. I'm like, you got to talk to this girl. We got to do this. And blah, 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 blah. We literally talked about the book. I don't know at all. Like, I was talking. I'm like, just talk to this person. I didn't know what I said to her. But we had a podcast that day. We were on someone else's podcast that was talking about finance. You know, it was about a business. It was business. And he says, so what's next for you ladies? Because he knew of our podcast and he was coming on, or he'd been on. And I'm like, oh, we're doing our first book.
And Caroline's going, really?
Yeah.
So that's how we got into adding
books.
It's
a bit like care to share. This vision. I'm like, oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I have to feel the vision she has. You know, we follow them, and they all work. So.
Well, the beauty of it is that both of you have got many years, but also many different genres and layers of business acumen. You know, I did one book here, an ebook on the site, people contributing chapters. I've got 2 other books that I want to come out next year. But again, wearing all the hat, I don't have that technique. I don't have that, you know, structure in which to put it together. I've got the people. I've got the idea. I'm the visionary, but it's like having a few Lego blocks, and it's like, I know they can come together. I just don't know how, you know. And that's the thing. You need somebody who can see it. Oh, great idea. We can do this. We can do that. And then next thing you've got a product that's even bigger than you actually imagined it being. But it's very hard to do it on your own. Believe me, trust me, I've been trying. It's very hard. So you need people like you who can see it, taste it, and know how to honor the message and put it together in a format that really puts it out there.
I think where that comes from is that if someone was to say with the common denominator, so if you were watching this right now, you would see, you know, I'm very pale skinned, blue eyes, blonde hair, Caroline's beautiful olive skin, right? Never has to wear makeup because it's flawless, brown hair, brown eyes. And they're like, you guys look different, but at the core, at the core behind this company is about empowering entrepreneurs and letting people tell their story. And so it doesn't matter whether I'm doing this part of it or she's doing that part of it. We have a core value, and because I trust her value is the same as mine and her investment is the same as mine, that if she wants to make the, you know, the blue tracker a darker blue and I like lighter blue, I don't care.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like those peripheral things go, and your natural aptitude and skills will float to the top, and you just have to let that person have that decision. It's interesting when you like you said, now, if you're the kind of person that wants to do something on their own, hiring somebody to do that other part of you that has as much enthusiasm for you as you do your project, right?
They're complementing you.
Yeah.
In that collaboration, they're complementing you, because sometimes we can get so immersed in something, we're not seeing the whole picture. And when somebody can see it from a different side, you know, this structure, that, this, you know, as you talk about with social media, I've had people send me in their bio that, you know, I go for at least 3 links on your website, email if you want it. I've had people send me 20 social media links, and I go, no. This is overload. This is too much for people, you know, really is. It's the same when you've got a project, and especially here, a book that people want to put out, an idea they want to put out. It's their baby, right? But how many times do you hire a publisher? And I did the first time round, didn't honor any of the vision, none of the vision that I had there. And you want somebody that gets you. You know, gets you from the heart. Oh, I really love what you're doing. I understand why you're doing it, whom you want to reach. Now it's just a question of how we put it together that honors that message. And that's what we really do want. Right, Caroline?
Oh, yeah. I'm so, Deb and I, well, we have the same mentality, and we realized when we were talking that we've both been like that a bit like forever. But just like Steve Jobs said, you know, when you're not sure and someone asks you a question, just say yes and then figure it out. And I've said yes in my life so many times. You know, when I was 18, my first time I wanted to be a waitress, never held a plate before. And he's like, can you do that? I'm like, yes. So after a few broken everything, I've learned. But my point is, I've always done that. And we did go down the route of a publisher as well at first. And then we really looked at each other and we said, like, is that our nature? No. So we jumped into publishing our own books, which that in itself was like an immense learning curve. But it is so fun. And it's actually, you know, seeing the product after, the printed product, holding it in your hands, and it's a whole other feeling, but mostly is that it's really Deborah and I, because, you know, her message was subtle about the blue, but because I did change the blue for one of our books last week, so I did that and want it lighter. My point is that besides that blue, usually we agree on everything, because if, you know, we have to have, and of course we pick our battles, but it's quite something to have it really to your image. So I would say to anyone who has a book in them, and I don't want to make enemies with publishers here, but what I find that you truly need is a coach. It's a coach to help you really determine what you want and how you want it, and then guide you in the right direction. Because if I would have to redo all of that, that's exactly how I would do it. But now we coach people to do that.
Right. And you know, it's having people that can honor this journey of yours, honor these words of yours. My brother has a magazine, an online magazine that he's had for about 25 years. And I used to write for him. And everybody knows spelling and grammar is not my best thing. So I said, I can edit that. And I said, edit that. But what he was doing was editing out my essence. And I said, no, you're changing the story. I said, just correct the spelling and the grammar and leave it there. And then people were responding to me. And he goes, why are they responding to you? Because I write, he's an author, he's a literary teacher and everything. And it's like, why are people responding to you? Because I said, they relate. I'm a rhythmic writer, as I am a speaker. And it's okay. I mean, eventually he just kind of like, eventually I did my own blog and put them all out there, right? I think, you're going to attract the people that are going to get it. But having one of the problems with the publishers, and you see this even in the marketing of other things, they have a template to follow. You've got to do it this way. It's got to be set out that way. This has got to be your format. And it can go away from the essence of what the story is about or what the person is about. And if we can honor the person with the structure, then what we're really doing is getting a book out that is extremely powerful, that has really honored the writer, but it also has a bigger impact on those that read it.
Yeah, and I think you said it so well here, and I'm going to let Deb show our first book or second. I'm not sure which one she has in her hands. But the reason why, I'm bringing this up, it's because we were 20 women working together. That can go anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's literally 20 different stories, and it's really what you just said. We kept everyone's story, their story, and it's hard to not remove the vibe of someone when you start correcting, because you start correcting. So you're like, I wouldn't have said it this way, I would have said it this way. And I think that's exactly what Deb and I aced, is that we took the time to know every author collaborating, so we knew their vibe and their essence. So each of their stories is really theirs.
And the thread is the same, right? The stories are different, but the thread is continuing through the book, right? Yeah.
Well, go ahead then.
Well, and I think if you title it correctly, right? So, I mean, this one's called 20 Powerful Women in Network Marketing Tell All. So we obviously, our whole thing is about, with this project, was about women in business. Now, we picked a sector in that women in business. It could have been authors, it could have been podcasters, it could have been whatever. But it was, and then it was a tell all. So we wanted people to tell their story, but we also wanted them to tell, how did you get to that level of success? So this is about women being at a certain level in their business, enough that what they have has value to others, but it was a great experience for them to share. It was a piece of media for them. It was a collaborative piece of media. We then continued it as a group after the book launched into a mastermind with all of those women, right? So the relationships in the building stayed the same. And then they use this as a massive marketing tool, because, once you become an author, that adds to your kitty, right? When you talk about how to use media to explode your business, then writing a book can be a very powerful business tool. It can open a lot of doors. It is considered. And then there's people that you need to get in touch with. Obviously, we've done it with both of our books. We've been #1 on Amazon. There's a theory, there's a philosophy, there's a strategy, there's a way that you need to do what you need to do to make that happen. It's not called hope and prayer and girlfriends and boyfriends and family and friends. So you need to have that strategy. And every one of these women, here's the interesting thing. This woman, in this book in particular, you had to be a 6-figure earner or higher in this industry, because you're telling all. So you've hit the target of the payback, and we know that you fell down and got back up.
Right.
And so the word 20 powerful was very interesting, what that did for women, that actually some people were looking, oh my gosh, they've done so well. So that word alone triggered off the process for them. It was a very big journey for them to write their personal journey, break some barriers, tell some things that happened. One woman recovering from, a situation that was not favorable, or how this person was bullied for the things that they did and where they came from. And it was such an organic piece of personal development for them, yet turned into one of the most powerful business tools to open their business in their sector, which is not bookstore stuff, right?
Right.
So when we talk about the things that we can talk about, the three of us are obviously very wealthy in this topic. One of the things is becoming an author is a great media platform for exploding your business, and then taking this and getting it onto the airways, of podcasts or radio shows or what have you, is something really critical. Now, if you don't have a book and you want to get on a podcast, then go do it. Get on that podcast. Talk about the book that's coming.
Yes.
Talk about the book. Everything, I'll tell you, in my 30 years of being an entrepreneur, everything is in 3 stages. It's either pre-marketing, marketing, or post-marketing. Everything you do. There's no reason why in 10 years I can't talk about what it was like to put this book together.
Right.
It's pre-marketing or post. And people, you know what they forget about? The pre. And you know what they drop too quickly? The post. If I was to call every one of these authors that aren't staying around in the mastermind group and go, so how much did you talk about your book today? How much did you put your business card in your chapter and mail it out? How many did you purchase and giving out for Christmas gifts?
Right.
They wouldn't. They'd go, oh, I forgot. So people lose money by not doing it correctly.
You lose momentum.
Someone needed to hear that, because that was a rant. When I rant, I'm like, someone is listening and they needed to hear that.
No,
so go do
that's
it,
a
whoever
good
you are.
rant. I get this when I'm interviewing people. I've got a book coming out, so we make sure we have the cover, the tease, and everything. When is it coming out? The anticipation, and then for some of them, the next book they're going to come back, and we're going to talk about the previous book and this book coming out. And it's like, people are, if they've enjoyed your first book, they want the second book, right? Or they want to know who you are, or what you can do for them. It's that engagement. And it's rather like, somebody doing a podcast, or I've done it, I'll just put it on my social media. I don't care. I have an entire etiquette poster that I put out there of being a guest on a podcast, because I have found some people aren't very respectful, right? So if you are going to go and do the circuit, make sure that you honor the people that are interviewing you, and that you are sharing, that you're not just sharing your work, you're sharing their work, because that is respect. It's consideration. And they're going to be more likely to keep referring you and keep talking about you if you have shown that respect, rather than just dismissed, right? So there's a whole lot of etiquette in marketing yourself, or in going on podcasts and doing podcasts. It's not just write the book and hope everybody reads it. No.
Caroline, why don't you talk about this new book that we've got?
Yeah.
Now that Sarah's led that out. We've got this incredible planner. This was a dream of mine and Caroline's before we knew each other. We were 20 years old. Both of us wanted to do a planner. I used to use a book called the Women's Day Book, and they stopped creating it. And I honestly have been lost ever since then. And I think that was in my late 20s. And then anyways, I'm gonna let Caroline take this story.
Yeah, so decades later, I came in and I saved her.
At last, you see, you just got to hold on.
I'm someone's princess. Well, what we did, but she's so true, is that we really love planners, and we were both going through 2 or 3 a year, because you start and then you get sick of it because you have to add and have something else. So after our 2 first books, we said, wait a second, why don't we do our own planner? Because now, we feel empowered. We published 2 number 1, and we self-publish, so we're like, bring it on, we'll do the planner. Which, by the way, if any of you don't know, a planner is completely different than a book. It's graphism, and it's it's very, very different. But we took on that project, and I feel like it's our baby. It's a different baby than the book. It's really a whole other. It's the baby of our tools, basically, because then we started developing tools. But that planner is everything that Deb wanted and that I wanted, that we could fit in a reasonable format. But it's really there to help you succeed in business. It's there to help you, keep track of your business, grow your business, plan your business. Because quite often, and I say business, but it doesn't have to mean that you want to open a store.
Business of life, right?
Yes, well, and the thing is that too, is that, we're mothers, we're business owners, we have different businesses. So it doesn't make sense either to have your planner for the family and then your planner for this. Because I used to do that until someone told me, You are one person. Why do you have more than one planner?
Yes.
It's not like I have 3 times 24 hours. And I was like, good point. So we really integrated that in there as well. And, you know, personal development is key in life. And that's a subject that I think that needs to be promoted even more, but we really integrated it there to help people keep track of their personal development, keep track of their self-care, keep track of, you know, their everything that they're doing. And what I'm saying seems very complicated, but we developed a really nice table that everything is in there, and it's
a reminder, right? Have you done this? You know,
yeah,
are you doing this? Yeah.
It's one a week, and you take the habit each day to go do it. But basically, it takes you from your 5 years vision. That helps you, and we help you develop your 5-year vision, because we also included QR codes that when you scan over them, you have us giving you a little training. So you'll go from your 5-year vision to breaking it down into a yearly goal, then breaking that down in quarterly goals, breaking it down in monthly goals to weekly goals to daily activities. And, you know, quite often what we say we want to in a year, even if it's just losing weight, you will hear so often, like, I want to lose 10 pounds. And you'll say, like, how will you do that? Well, I'll eat less. Okay, well, good luck.
Yes.
You know, you have to be like, I want to lose 10 pounds by that date, and that's my plan to get there. And, you know, it may be like half a pound a month, and I'm giving myself, I don't know, whatever. But everything, when you plan stuff, first of all, it really takes away your anxiety. And for me, it's like when we were talking about the planner and everything that would be in it, I was like, oh my gosh, it's going to be a lot. But honestly, it's like your personal assistant, it's your accountability partner, and your brain doesn't have to keep all of the information because you put it down in your planner. It's all in one place. And no, it's not a big brick. We managed to put that in an 8 by 11, you know, so it's very convenient as well. But I am so excited. We're receiving them next week, and honestly, I think it's going to be a party at my place. And I'm receiving them before Deborah, so I'm just going to tease her and she's further than me, so she's going to have a delay, but I cannot wait. And then when we develop that, you know, as we were developing that, we were like, oh, but if you're in sales, you know, you need a system to track your contacts better than just I did my contacts, because you can put the X without having a good follow-up system. So then we developed our contact tracker. And again, it was, you know, it was again like, oh, well, we'll do a pre-sale and we'll do a promotion and we'll offer a tracker. And we're like, wait a second, we don't have a tracker. Let's build a tracker. And then we built a tracker, and we finish our tracker by saying, well, don't forget that when you convert to clients, you need to have your client system. So guess what's our next project? Developing a client system.
Keeps opening up the doors, doesn't it? Yeah. You know, and of course, this is all something you write into, right?
Yes, yes. And, you know, we're really paper girls. So
yeah.
It's
people
like,
forget actually that the importance of writing something in. We do everything digitally. And, you know, I've had things get blown digitally, and it's like, I thought I had a show here, and like, where is the person? I have to go back to the email to find out because the, you know, the calendar's blown. And like, you know, also writing things down, I think the memory perhaps actually is clearer, you know, the hand to paper. And but also it's like in one area that you can actually look at and say, well, I've got this information over here and that information over here on my computer or on my phone and this and that, you know, it's, you can go back on, you know, what did we do a couple of weeks ago that was really good? We wanted to refer to, go back to it. It's there, right? So it's something that we've forgotten the art of, but we need to go back to, because I think that it's
argue that you can do all of that in a digital way, but for me, it's like I'm high touch and I need to see it on paper. Putting it in my phone, I feel like I lost it.
Yeah, I hate working on my phone. I
put myself alarms, and the minute they ring, I don't even read. I'm like, dismiss.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, the nice thing is too, when you have, so look, I think we've all understand the power of organizing. Look at the wave of professional organizers that come into people's homes. You know what? I had a little bit, I had some work to do last night. And so I was watching a show on professional organizing because one of my dearest friends on organizing, I saw this show. I thought, oh, I'm going to watch it and tell her what I see. And you see the relief of people when their kitchen is organized and their closet and their shoes and their this. And then you walk into particularly a new entrepreneur, and I'm talking new, I'm talking 5 years and under. Look, if you're 5 years and under, you're a baby. Okay. And so when you have that tracker is incredible because you have leads everywhere. They're on your phone or on the notes or someone from Snapchat or someone from Instagram or someone like this, and you haven't gotten to them. And if you can just go to one place, as someone who teaches brain health, I'm telling you, it will just conserve energy, because a lot of angst that happens in business is, where do I go? What do I do? And look, most people come out of the gate with at least 2 social media platforms. You know, for the majority of the world, it's Facebook and Instagram, or LinkedIn, Facebook, or LinkedIn, Instagram. You have 2, if not 3. And if you don't now, you will. Those are pretty well the 3 kingpins, right? And then you've got Twitter, people doing Twitter. You've got a website. You've got your blog. You're going on podcasts. Even just I have one of those planners just for podcast guests.
Yes.
Just for people that I'm like, okay, and I know that they're in there. Right. And so, yes, yes, we have these incredible tools, but even in our tools, our social media tracking, if you need to do 10 posts this week, then you're going to put it in there and track it. So I think that what it does, like, we could do a lot for entrepreneurs, and we do, and God knows, so do you. But one of the things that we thought we could take off people's plate is one of the gifts that we've used. Now, if you are an electronic person, you can hybrid this. You can hybrid that. And I recommend people hybrid, because people have I was just talking to a very good colleague of mine, oh my gosh, one in the top 5% of Bob Proctor. And Google shut her down, her email, done. Everything, like 25 years of business, right? And so you want to have something that you have control over. And if you can look at your month, you have control. If not, you're probably going to be a yes man, because everything sounds damn attractive, particularly in your first 5 years of business, because you're willing to talk to anybody, do anything, and you should be, because you're building. And so when you look at a plan like this, instead of a schedule on a phone that says a little yellow dot, I'm doing something that day. When you look at, you go, how much energy am I putting out? Where's my self-care at? I mean, Sarah, you're big on that, right? So, so you can look and see, where am I pouring it on? And if you're an entrepreneur, like we all are, if you're doing more than one thing, like, I can't wait for you to come on the show and talk about this coaching. I want to know about that, the colors. So then you can plan your family, your this, your that, whatever it is. You got to be able to I think, see it, unless you're looking on a big screen. So,
but the other point is too, I used to, and I stopped doing this, is, pre-interviews, write down notes. Right. So, now I kind of take it from the information there, then I put that up there, but I would write down, I want to cover that, I want to cover that. I do 4 to 5 shows a week with all the production and things like this. I don't remember every pre-talk, but if you've written it down in a note, whether it's a podcast or whether you're going into a meeting or you've heard somebody on a podcast and you want to meet them, right? You write it down, and then you've got some content in which that you're now going to reach out to them, because they kind of set this question in mode, or they inspired you. We've forgotten the art, and this actually has become very, very detrimental, because an awful lot of our young people do not know actually how to put a pen in their hand and write. And this is, we're totally, there was a brilliant, do you remember the Twilight Zone?
Oh, of course, yes.
And Outer Limits. I don't know which one it was.
Yes.
I think it might have been Twilight Zone, set in the future. Everybody's got chips in their head, right? So everybody's reliant on this computer. Nobody thinks for themselves. It's just like, hey, Google or Siri, we're out there now. And there was this one guy who was considered dumb because the chip didn't work in his head. He wrote things down, etc. Long story short, the computer broke down. Nobody had any retained information, because it was always at their fingertips, so nobody retained it. And he became the teacher, right? Wow. So we've become so, and this was something done about 40 years ago, right? So real projection of the future. We're at that now. How much do we, hey Google, or hey Siri, or how this or that, Alexa, and we ask the question, oh, that's that, but do we retain the information? Writing things down helps us retain the information. Plus you can go back and refer to it and have it, kind of re-trigger in your head. So you're doing something that I think actually is a practice that people really need to get back to, because I think they retain something they've written down by hand, but it's something you can keep referring back to. It gives you that structure that you need, of don't forget your time out because you're burning out. Don't forget this, don't take on too much, don't do too many shows. During the pandemic last year, I was doing 8-9 shows a week and I was getting burned out, right? Because it's too much. So I think it's a wonderful way of pacing yourself, as well as writing down what's really important. You get an epiphany, write it down, right?
Absolutely. I mean, and I think that's why we're so passionate. Go ahead, Caroline.
No, sorry. It's just, you reminded me when you say it helps you pace yourself down. Well, me, when I went from having my 2-3 planners to accepting I'm one person.
Not schizophrenic phase.
It needs to fit all in this. My day all needs to be in this column. Not only do you pace yourself, but looking at it on paper, you're like, it's not even possible.
Well, I talked about the hats before. My daughter's an abstract artist, and I very often use her art in my blogs and my postings. And she did one of 3 faces, and each face is a different thing, and it's like, we become that because society demands this, family demands that, somebody else demands that, and we're all these different faces. Now YouTube is going to show that one thing of me doing that one other thing, right? Yeah. But we want to take all of those emotions, but we want to, to be in the one face, because we can get so discombobulated so easily. And so if we do have something that brings us back down to earth, or brings us back down to the core of the situation, helps us manage our time. I think that's one of the worst things with entrepreneurs, right? The management of time.
I was just going to say that here was one of the premises behind it, was high performance activity, getting the verbiage. We really weaned this planner could have been produced a month ago if we didn't wean back and forth so much on really carrying the verbiage, because it was like the top 3, the 3 leads you must call this week. You want to call these other people that are popping in your head, that's fine, but these 3 are going to play part to that goal you wrote. And keeping people on top producing activity, whether it's income producing, relationship producing, whatever producing, this is your criteria. By doing the activities that we laid out, or you writing that down, you're therefore going to be top of mind. You're going to be highly productive. And the bottom line, you didn't get into business to learn all lessons. You did get in to have some success. You did come in to be able to pay for that, high school or dress, or, what am I talking about? When people like college and universities, like there's a reason why you're doing what you're doing, and you need to be, I truly believe you need to be successful so that we can all be successful.
Right.
And so there is, it's when you say it's prioritizing, it's time management, it's efficiency, and also recognizing. So when you look back after your week, and one of the questions you have is, what was the thing that you did last week that made you the most proud of yourself? You're like, whoa. When's the last time an entrepreneur took out a week and went, I'm going to sit here a little bit, I'm going to have myself a nice glass of wine and just tell me how damn good I did.
No, and it also trains your brain. Because the next week that question is coming.
Yes.
So your brain is thinking about it. So that's why they say write your gratitudes every day. The longer you do it, the more defined it gets, because your brain is looking for things during the day. And that's what Deborah is describing is exactly that.
And entrepreneurs don't prepare for success. The vision is of success. But what happens is that maybe suddenly they're in demand, or their product's in demand. And it's like, oh my God, this has happened too soon. I don't know what to do next. If you have that planner of growth, okay, like, this product seems to be gaining traction. What are we going to do if it really takes off? Are we prepared for that? Or are you prepared for all of a sudden all the demands on your coaching? Can you, like we talked about in the other show, you're normally one-on-one, but during the COVID, you did groups because the demand was there. So how can you pivot, or not that we want to use that, redirect or reverse the idea?
Okay. I'm over it.
So, you know, we've got to be flexible. And the trouble is when you go into I want to reach this goal by this, and I want to do this by that. That's a lovely vision of but the blueprint, without the blueprint, it's not going to get built. And you imagine you're building a hotel and you forgot to put the plumbing in. Oops, that slipped my mind, you know? You don't want to backpedal, right? So you need those building blocks that keeps you on track, that allows you to know when you can leap safely. But most importantly, I think as an entrepreneur, we need to understand it doesn't matter if you're a solopreneur, you need people around you. If you're an entrepreneur with a team, you need the right people around you. And by keeping track of it, keeping note of it, you know, that person's really got a good strength in that area. That person, no, don't give them that job. It's not their strength. And you're keeping track of that, and you know actually how to navigate and how to conduct everybody so that, you know, everybody's a part of it.
Well said. Well said.
I love the structure that you've brought. Also, I love the fact that you are celebrating people like women. That's only 2 books you've shown us, though. You've got some more books there. What are the other books?
Well, the book that is going to be launched in November is going to be one in the same sector for men. So 11 influential men, right? So that's amazing. 11 influential men in network marketing, tell all. And then a book that I think is rarely done. A book that's really done. Do you want to tell them what's launching on Valentine's Day, Caroline?
Yes, well, now that you said the date, it's a good clue. It's couples.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You know, because it's funny, quite often, Deborah and I, we have the same comments like, oh, of course, I wish I was a couple, because then we would be 2 sharing everything that I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I start talking to those people, I'm like, wow, I'm so glad I'm the only one doing what I'm doing. So, you know, it's very interesting, because the woman's book, we knew it would be different perspectives, but we didn't know how much, because we're all talking about the same sector. So like how women describe going to the top and how they got there and what were their struggle. And then now we're going to publish the men, which are like amazing stories, but so different.
Yeah.
I can't wait to read the couples one, because it's going to be a merging of the 2, but also including compromising, because I assume you have to compromise at some point, because Deb and I are a business couple. So it's like there is compromising, but at least like we get to go home on on our own at night. But when you're a couple and you live together, and you know, there's a whole different dynamic. So I can't wait to read that book.
Yeah, I sent you the shows that I've done with the Neglos, and they were talking about at the 14-year period, their marriage was falling apart, and they actually took time out from each other to explore their own individuality. And he came back as a channeler, does this amazing channeling, and she came back with working with women, which she's done for over 30 years. And one of the shows I did with them is around the 49th anniversary, and talking about relationships. And there they were both snuggling, and both of them have their own individual work, and then they have their collective work, and they live together and everything else. So it's how they've married it all together. It is possible. But I think the most important thing is respect each other's individuality. And then how can you bring the merge together where it then complements the 2 of you under a one umbrella? So well done. I'm glad you're doing that. This is all guidance. It's, you know, it's all well, how did they do that? How many times did you hear that? And do you hear that? How did they do that? And you've put together the top women, now the men, you're going to do the relationships, and there's clearly a lot more to come. And it's like, well, when you hear it from other people of how they did it, it doesn't mean that you've got to do it exactly like they've done it, but it's going to inspire you and ignite something in you of, okay, all right, I can give that a try and do it, because if it succeeded for them, it could succeed for me, but you're still going to do it your way. So we need that inspiration. We need that illumination. We need to hear about the struggles, not just the successes, because the successes feel too far out of reach when you're starting out, right?
Yes. Well, my my closing point on this is really get a coach. And I don't
Yeah.
even know what type of coach to say, because everyone has their own.
Yeah.
I really do feel that when it's going to be the person for you, roads will cross and you will know, but a coach to help you figure out
Yeah.
who you are, what are your goals, how will you develop something. And you can have a coach like for life in general, and you can have some for different projects that you're doing, but it's always so good. Like, I think that the reason why Deborah and I are successful, we bounce our ideas off each other, and we're honest, and we never fight. No, that's not true. But you know, we really talk. So I'm not alone developing something, and she's not alone developing something.
You're in
It's
sync.
probably, yeah. So she's kind of my coach, and I'm kind of her coach as well. I think it's so crucial to have someone you trust, that you can bounce your ideas and really help you be on the right line. And the other thing is, whatever you do it with your heart, and do it because you love it, not because you need to make money, because desperation transpires in everything.
Yeah, 100,000,000% agree with that. And, you know, the other thing, if you've got a partner that you're doing, with, is that it's okay. You can be vulnerable with them. I'm having a shitty day, or I just can't get my head around that right now. Do you mind taking up the slack for the moment? And that's what partnership is about, right? That's what collaboration is about, being there for each other through the trials and tribulations of life, and not going, I've got to go into work and put on a face and I can't tell them what's going on at home. You know, it's sharing all of that, because that compassion is, leads to more trust, more depth, more understanding, more collaboration, and more creativity.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, my last words would be, if we're coming to that place, would be just to encourage people to see media as an extension of themselves, but a very viable, worthwhile investment.
Yes.
Because it's going to move you through different levels of personal development. It's also going to help you own your passion. It's going to clarify very quickly whether this is what you don't want to do or not. You're gonna, I mean, you fall down and get up, whether you had a business 30 years ago or now, it's just different. The ability to platform yourself and share just hits so many people. We never used to be able to have international businesses like we do now. Time zones don't seem to be an issue, where before you would never think about doing business in, say Hong Kong, and I'm in Vancouver. Well, that might not be true because I live in Vancouver, but there's, you wouldn't necessarily think about, you go import, export, what have you. There's so many tools that you can use. Don't get lost in the vastness. Don't get lost in the vastness. Do your media. Keep everything you do. If you don't have a website yet, you can still keep it. I just say to people, don't look at how vast it is, because it's ever ending and expanding. Be where you are, learn, but do the practicality of your business. Just don't be afraid of it. And if you have to learn a few, new tricks and hop through a new, well, you're going to have to.
Yes.
You're going to have to. And in 5 years
now,
all of us to stay current, I would say, thank gosh, at 56 years old, I have a 17-year-old, because he keeps me current. I listened to like Post Malone this morning. So when and some people don't know who that guy is, but it helps you stay current, and it helps you stay in front of your customers, not behind them.
Engagement. It's engagement with your life on a personal level. It's engagement with your life on a business level. It's just that engagement with the very core of you. I can't do anything anymore that doesn't agree with my core. If my core is with it, I'm there. If my core isn't in there, I ain't doing it. So you've got to learn to trust that intuition and that core, the understanding why you're doing. You're going to get opportunities coming along that's going to be big money. But is it something that's selling out your business and your philosophy and your why behind it? Is it just a shortcut? Is it going to cost you in the long run? And, this is, I think, the test that we're going to get as an entrepreneur. And it's like, yeah, it may be big bucks, but what's the price you're going to pay for it? And don't lose your core reason for doing it, right? That core reason of what you're trying to accomplish, and be willing to constantly grow. It's a never-ending story. Go with it, right? So, sites, Deborah, your sites, how people can get hold of you.
You know what? I throw this over to Caroline. She's way better at this than me. She's got this handled.
Okay.
Well, we actually don't have a site for True That Media yet. We both have our own site, but we direct everyone to our Facebook group because it's a public group and it's really there that we share everything, and we love to have everyone's comments and everything. So that's a platform actually that really works well for us. So it's True That Media on Facebook. You will find a group. If you need to contact us directly, it's Deb and Caroline at gmail.com. That too, we kept it very simple, and we love having everyone's comments, suggestions. If you feel like you would like to be on our podcast or in one of our books or want some tools, we're here. Please contact us, and or if you want to tell us something to improve, we're here. We listen and we want to hear that. So
we also have a beautiful YouTube channel, so people could go over to True That on YouTube, and then we have an Instagram page as well. True That Media.
It's True, TREU, that THAT Media.
TREUE. So True.
No, right. True, TRUE.
Yeah. Dyslexia is coming up here, folks. So
that's okay.
I shall read it. So True, TRUE, that THAT Media, and that is on your YouTube. Also, all of your links for both shows are right here on selfdiscoverymedia.com. All people have to do is just simply put in your names, and so that's either Caroline Blanchard or Deborah Drummond, and you'll get their shows there and all of the links and everything led to it. Listen to their podcasts. Clearly they're sharing some wonderful tools and tips. Don't say, I don't know how to do it. There's always somebody there that can help you, but you've got to be willing to do the research. And how cool is it to be driving home or going for a walk or jogging on the treadmill and listening to a good podcast at the same time? You're getting the wisdom at the same time as you're doing something else. And that's the multitasking I want to see people do. Listen to good content while they're doing something mindless that they could do in their sleep. So you want good content, you want good information, you're interested in either being a part of a book, or you've got a book idea that you want to put together, or you just simply are an entrepreneur, starting out and kind of navigating. And of course, with media, social media changes every moment. Zuckerberg just announced Facebook's going to be a different name. He's going to be doing the virtual thing, where people are going to be kind of virtual avatars talking to other people, right? So technology just is like this. Every 5 seconds something is changing with it, and it's like, get the root core down well, and then as the changes happen, it won't be so intimidating, right? So just get with the program, folks. Thanks so much, Deborah. Thank you so much, Caroline. Thank you for the work you're doing, for the friendship that you have, for the coming together and showing how collaboration works, cohesive collaboration, and stepping up there for those entrepreneurs out there. We need them. We need their innovation. We need their creativity. We want them to succeed. But please don't think you can do it all on your own without paying a big price. So reach out to them, and they're going to help you get there because they want to see you succeed. So until next time, folks, bye for now. We hope that you enjoyed the show. You will hear many, many shows here on selfdiscoverymedia.com. We have new shows for you out every week. Just find them on our podcast or What's New. If you feel that you have something to share that makes a difference in the lives of others, or you too feel that you could be a host, please contact me at info@selfdiscoverymedia.com, and we will be glad to speak with you. Have a wonderful day.